Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics, and this is your Proof Daily NFT Countdown. Back in Oaxaca, Mexico for your second show from Mexico in a row. As you know, if you saw my tweet, I lost my camera yesterday. Other than that, things are going great. But let's get right into it. Let's talk about NFTs, a little bit about Mercedes. It's a little bit of a shorter show today, but we're still going to cover what's been going on. Starting off with a quick market overview. Volumes were basically flat versus yesterday. Buyers also flat, not a whole lot to see here. I want to see what the volume was of NFTs that are being bought on leverage via Blend. And you can see that it's gone up a fair bit. We're now like 2,500 ETH. Not too surprising, partially because people are getting more used to it, but then also you have a lot more collections that are on Blend. So makes sense that the volume is going up there. Large cap index was basically flat, not a whole lot of movement, some strength in Azuki, weakness in World of Women. One of the things I always like to look at is how many new NFTs are being dumped into bids on Blur. I just think like that is generally a big weight on the shoulders of projects when more and more NFTs get dumped there. And you can see the numbers basically, it's basically been down a little bit. Recently, I'm pointing here with that arrow to Bored Ape Kennel Club. Looks like 22 new Bored Ape Kennel Club NFTs were dumped today. I looked at the wallet that did it, and it seemed like a wallet that had actually minted those dogs. So interesting to see that. That number, that bar does look small, but that's because the day is not over yet, just about halfway done. One other chart I'm always kind of intrigued by is that with Rap Punks, there's basically been no new NFTs dumped into the Blur pool for a long time. So that's at least good to see for punks. Still have a lot of volume there, but it's basically the same 40, 50 punks being passed around multiple times between many people. I think the average punk right now trades 4 times per month. It was about 9 times a month ago. So that seems to be going down. A couple projects that are strong. We're seeing some strength in Azuki. You can hardly even see it in this chart because it's been so range bound, but up above 15 ETH, versus 13 to 14 where it's been. And then Captain's hitting a new all-time high. I think with both of these, they just have upcoming catalysts. With Azuki, you have the party in Vegas. People are excited about that. With Captain's, you have meme coin that's coming up. I think the other thing Captain's does so well is they're constantly evolving the art, but it takes like 2 months to reach another stage. So again, there's just always something to anticipate. As I say, anticipation is the oxygen of NFTs, and we're seeing that with both Azuki and Captain's, which have been strong. Mid-cap index up a small bit, some strength in Degentunes and Renga. And in terms of art projects, it kind of feels like we're back to where we were before that big art blocks pump that we had in both volume and floor prices. Floor prices are still higher. Chromie Squiggles were at 9, now they're at 11. Fidenza's still kind of in the 60s. So floor prices are still up, but volumes are kind of back to where we were when things were quite slow. Looking at some of the top sales, there's a Chromie Squiggle that sold for 29,000 USDC. That's 15.5 ETH. Now, I'm not a Chromie Squiggle expert, but I can't really figure out why this was trading at a 40 to 50% premium to floor. I'm sure some of you understand it, so please do put in the comments to help me understand it. Maybe there's a bit of an M shape going on there, but really, that's a pretty punchy price for an NFT. It kind of feels a little bit like a floor squiggle, so interesting to see that. You also have this Poppy Field palette from Memories of Chile. I talked about the Poppy Field palette yesterday. You had a sale there at 6.9 ETH, but it is a really nice palette, and it sold again well above floor. Then you have a Fontana by Harvey Rayner Pattern.co sold at 4 ETH. It's slightly above floor, so that's a nice sale to see. And then this is a project we don't see all that often, but Render's Game by Mount Vitruvius had a sale for 1.1 ETH, so cool to see that. A bunch of interesting sales in art blocks. Second thing to talk about, the Mercedes launch. Actually, doesn't launch today. They just provided the details. They're going to be launching on June 7th, but here is the tweet from them. They said they can finally announce their inaugural core collection, co-created with generative artist Harm Vanden Dorpel and collectors Fingerprints DAO. And you can see the work here. It's quite abstract. It's generative art, and it has flavors of the automotive industry, of speed, of movement, but it is generative kind of abstract art. So that's kind of interesting. Some of the details about what they announced. They said from day one, they believed that entering the space would only feel right if done together with the community. So they teamed up with Fingerprints DAO and Harm Vanden Dorpel to make this first collection. In core to it are motion, velocity, and perception. Those are the core themes of it. So they tie it into the automotive industry without being very explicit about it. They say they're inspired by the wagon wheel effect, where objects appear to spin in the opposite direction of reality. And there will be 1,000 NFTs, reverse Dutch auction with a rebate, and it will only be on Fingerprint DAO's website, and that's going to be on June 7th. So all pretty cool stuff. This is stuff you have to see as a GIF. You have to see it in the motion. So, but you can see here kind of like that propeller engine type theme in this art right here. Here's a picture of Harm van den Dorpel. He is the artist behind a project called Mutant Garden Cedar, which has 500 pieces and a 4.4 ETH floor. That floor got as high as 20 ETH during the bull market, but clearly a successful generative artist. Name sounds Dutch. I'm going to assume he's Dutch. Maybe he's not Dutch, but I'm going to assume it. And this is the first of 3 core collections that Mercedes is going to be launching. They announced a little while ago that they're going to do kind of a pretty unique approach to this. And they're going to have 3 core collections, then kind of a second tier of collections that are theirs, but they don't put quite as much time into with partners. And then a third tier, which is kind of on the periphery. So a pretty thoughtful approach to how they're doing it. The 3 core collections, the first one's going to be generative. The second one is kind of a VIP collection for people who they want to give the NFTs to. And then the last one will be about Mercedes design heritage. My takeaways here, one is clear, is that they're just doing this the opposite of the way Porsche did. The art is very different. It's abstract. It's connected to the ocean, but totally different from Porsche, where they literally just did pictures of cars, and also kind of opposite. They're really working with insiders, whereas Porsche kind of felt a little bit more like they went the agency route. So I think this one's probably a better, kind of more thoughtful way of doing it. They knew to align with industry insiders, and also just a very multifaceted approach to how they want to do it. How is Porsche doing, by the way? We haven't looked at Porsche in a while. That was kind of one of those collections we talked about when it came out and haven't really talked about since, but you can see it kind of had that initial pump to 2.5 ETH. Now it's down to about 1.2 ETH in terms of floor price, but still above that 0.911 launch price that they did. So, even people who minted are still in the money. So I guess there's something there. Third thing to talk about, and this is short, was that the Otherdeed added allies. This was just kind of a new tweet we got from Otherdeed. Just kind of looking at it, they said your Otherdeed expanded is your game board. Your land is your game board. But look to this, guys, where the constellations align to provide a vision of the future. While the ancient codas take center stage, allies will aid them in the battle to defend Otherside against the Shattered. What are allies? They're basically saying that, and I'm assuming this means if in your wallet you also have a Yuga PFP, and there'll also be third-party PFPs, so who knows which projects they're teaming with. They've done stuff in the past where they hinted at alliances with Cool Cats and World of Women and Nouns and other stuff, so maybe that's what they're talking about here. But if you have these allies in your wallet, that is going to lead to better point scoring in this game that we still don't know about, that we still can't play, that we're getting leaked the instruction set before you can actually play it. So difficult to follow along, but basically just trying to create some incentive to own a few others. They say that owning these helps you vanquish the Shattered and gather their treasures. So who knows what it is, but always nice to see that they are kind of building out the ecosystem and connecting it all together. And then lastly, let's just talk about a couple notable sales. There was not a lot today. There was not a lot of art sales, kind of in terms of big PFPs, not a whole lot to speak of. But one thing that I do think was noteworthy was that Batzdu Opepens got swept, and they got swept not just some of the more common ones, but also at some of the more rares. The sweeper bought 2 additional 4 Opepens, which were for 14 ETH, and bought both of them an 11.69 ETH edition of 5. So not even the one of one, but the second and third tiers. Really a lot of ETH being spent on this. If you look at the floor for the whole collection is now up to 6.35 ETH. So congrats to anybody who got that. That's been a very successful NFT to own. And then one artist who I have not spoken about. It's called Spaces. This sale was for 2.69 ETH, the highest sale I could find on Super Rare and other platforms like Manifold for a one of one. Spaces Between by Ceren Yüzgül. And I'm sorry, Ceren, if I'm getting your name wrong. I should have checked with ChatGPT on how to pronounce it, but very cool art that you can see in this image. Just looking at some of her top sales, she's had a bunch of sales kind of in that 3 to 4 ETH range, and a bunch of very prolific artists, actually. If you look on Super, a lot of stuff from 2 to 3 as well. Just a little bit about her. She studied advertising at a university in Turkey, where she still lives, also has training in web programming, and really likes this field because she learned the limitless advantages of digital art. Her art and creations are inspired by all the details of life, but is my inspiration that is often weird and melancholic. I got this from her about page on her website. Worth checking it out. Cool to see, artists from all over the world, from all sorts of different places, part of this movement, finding buyers kind of in the ecosystem. So you love to see that. That is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll be back tomorrow and every weekday with another show. Give us a like, subscribe to the channel, tell us what you think in the comments, and we'll talk to you soon.